Hot stove conversations about baseball, history, football, and current events that may leave you saying there's more to consider. Now, here's your host, Jack Moore.
Welcome to More to Consider. Today I have on Charles. It's Jack and Charles again today. I'm going to read something. And again, if you like what we do here on the channel, please like and subscribe.
And comment.
And comment, yes, always. Yeah, that's why you're here, Charles. All right, so Charles and I go way back. We know that whole history. I wanted to do this show in the start. We talked about doing this years ago together. We both are very libertarian in our view, and I think we would like to influence people to think like we do. If everyone thought like Charles and Jack, the world would get along just fine. It would, because we would not impose things upon others. But we live in a world of interaction. Everybody is interacting, and we grow up with cultural norms. We grow up with Captain Kangaroo, the NFL, we're going to talk about it, whatever these influences are, music, pop music, how things are disseminated to us, who are the influence makers in society. So I'm going to open up with this. Male cheerleaders are becoming increasingly common in the National Football League, with 12 teams including them in their cheerleading squads for the 2025 season upcoming. This trend has sparked support and backlash. Overview. Male cheerleaders have become increasingly common with, 12 teams. The shift has sparked both support and backlash. What do we have? Historical context. First, male cheerleaders. The Los Angeles Rams made history in 2018 by introducing a couple of names here they gave as the first male cheerleaders in the NFL. Growth since then, the number of teams, and there are 32 NFL teams, has increased to now 12 teams. So what have been the reactions? Support. Many fans and players support the inclusion of male cheerleaders, viewing it as a step towards inclusivity and representation. Backlash. Critics, including some politicians and former players, argue that the change undermines traditional masculinity in sport. Some have expressed outrage on social media, leading to heated debates about gender identity and roles in athletics. The presence of male cheerleaders in the NFL continue to be a challenging It has been a challenge to longstanding norms and provides discussions about inclusivity in sports. Okay, Charles, give me your first impression.
It's par for the course. I'm not exactly a football fan, and I kind of left football some years ago after watching a show. Well, not so much after watching a show. There was a show on ESPN called Playmakers. Mm-hmm. Did you ever watch Playmakers?
I'm familiar with it. 5 minutes, yes, but
Yeah, I love the show. I absolutely love the show. And then ESPN dumped the show because the NFL was like, hey.
Oh, that's right. I do remember. Yeah, because it was showing too much of the violent side, and the guys were all on drugs, and they're basically maniacs. That was a big part. That was a big part of it, because one of the characters was like a crazy linebacker, and they're like, hey, you're giving this vibe that these guys are a little bit unstable playing the game. Okay, keep going. I'm going to look it up. But that was my impression. Go ahead.
Or they were actually showing the truth.
Well, I'm not saying they weren't saying it, but they were saying that we don't want Joe Q. Citizen to know how screwed up our football players are.
Well, the thing is, that's kind of what Joe Q. Public wanted to see.
Maybe they did.
And when you go onto IMDb to look at the rating for Playmakers, it's like 8.4.
Yeah.
Which means it was very, very, very well received.
Hugely popular. Yeah.
No, yes, hugely popular. But then we have the NFL's like, no, because that makes us look bad. Well, how do you think this makes you look bad when you have these, let's just say, flaming dudes on your cheerleading squads? How does that make you look? It actually makes you look really weak. And if the NFL is supposed to be about masculinity and all this other good stuff, I don't really see that anymore. I'll be honest with you. And I don't follow the NFL. After Playmakers, that Playmakers thing, and the NFL saying, "Oh, we're butthurt because of a reality being shown." or at least reality being, let's just say, displayed, if you want to call it that, in a fictitious manner, I was like, well, I guess the NFL doesn't want real men to watch their stuff any longer. And you know what? Kind of seems that way now. These dudes that we see that they have on the field when it comes to cheerleaders. I seem to remember when I was a kid, well, not just a kid, but in high school, there were cheerleaders and then there were yell leaders. And the yell leaders were the guys who actually threw the women up. They caught the women when they were doing their flips and stuff like that. But that's not what I see on the field right now when it comes to the NFL. I see guys with pom poms and stuff like that. That's not how it was, and I kind of see why people are having an issue with it. I do.
All right. Okay, the National Football League history, Papa Bear Halas, George Halas is the founding godfather of the sport, basically. It went under another name for a couple of years and it became the National Football League. And I remember him, George Halas, telling the story, 10 or so kind of tough guys end up in a car dealership sitting along the running board of a 1920 whatever, and they whittle out $100 each. You're going to pay for a league. Teams early on were in and out in a weekend. They pull for a season, couldn't hack it. Next up, and they did that for quite some time. Probably in the 30s, pre-World War II, you started to see some stability, and then there was sort of a renaissance after World War II. And of course, the 1958 NFL championship, Colts Yankee Stadium against the Giants, becomes that pivotal game that everyone says the greatest game of all time, which it wasn't, the greatest game in history, which there was like 8 turnovers, an ugly game, but it's got Unitas, it's got Gifford, it's got Sam Huff. And then with television, the NFL becomes something. I say that to say some of the stuff on the periphery, like the Washington Redskins were the first team to have a marching band. They were the first team to have a fight song, Hail to the Redskins. And they were also the first to start really pressing the halftime show and cheerleaders. All of this is massively offensive today because the Redskinettes were wearing Indian headdress, et cetera, et cetera. So, all that's looked at as frowned upon. But George Halas was quite the showman. George Preston Marshall, the owner of the Redskins, was quite the showman. So he saw professional football as not only putting a team on the field that wins, which, to many people would be paramount to coming out to see the game.
Right.
He also saw it as an entertainment thing. Let's entertain. He wanted women there. I mean, he even said that clearly. I want the women to come, and I want them to be into the marching band, the halftime show, etc. And there was a funny story. I got to say this one real quick about. He one time wanted in the 50s at old Griffith Stadium before DC Stadium, which became RFK. He was going to fly in helicopter, parachute in Santa Claus. And I've seen the film. It's hysterical. They start to drop Santa Claus on the 50-yard line, and he goes flying off into a local neighborhood, and he ends up on someone's house. And the player was reciting what happened. He goes, that Halas, though, that Halas, he was always ahead of everything. He then drives a vehicle in, and another Santa gets out. He had a backup Santa. He literally knew there was some risk that the first Santa wasn't going to make it onto the field. So he had backup Santa in another vehicle, and they roll that Santa in, and he does the Christmas presentation at one of the last home games before Christmas. So where I'm going with this is many years throughout the history, if you watch the history, the NFL celebrated its 100th anniversary in 2019. That was 100 seasons. And in that history, some teams have never had cheerleaders, female or otherwise. They just haven't had it. Teams have had marching bands. Teams have not had marching bands. How they have handled on-field, off-the-field celebrations, entertainment have differed. But now we're getting into this big question, and I know where you're going with it. I remember going to see a college football game in the 80s. And I had seen a million NFL games. I mean, I'd seen a lot. And somebody listen to this, please make comments. You know this. There's an old saying that everyone in the NFL could have played in college. Every guy that plays in the NFL can play in college. Could have and did. Sometimes because of lack of recruiting grades or whatever, they didn't go to Auburn. They didn't go to Alabama. They went to whatever state, but were still good enough athletes to get drafted, or they matured once they got there. Like I just listened to Brian Mitchell yesterday, formerly with the Redskins, talking about Charles Haley, and they were shocked to find out Charles Haley's from my dad's hometown, Gladys, Virginia. And one of the guys, like, he's from Virginia. He went to JMU. Charles Haley, 5-time Super Bowl champion, one of the Hall of Famer, was a kind of late bloomer that went to JMU. JMU wasn't, James Madison University wasn't exactly center ring. So there's guys like that. So you have this history. I go to this college game, and I couldn't believe the disparity between two teams. It was a top-tier Division I playing against, in the same conference, a team. Okay, it was Maryland and Wake Forest. Okay, it was. I'm going to say it. I'm at Wake Forest, and Maryland is 6 times as big. 2 of the guys on the offensive line end up having standout careers in the NFL. They are pushing Wake Forest all over the field. I mean, they're physically throwing these guys into the stands. Wake Forest cannot play on the same field with Maryland in the mid-'80s. And then I look, and there's a 6'4", 250 some odd pound guy tossing girls around on the sideline.
Yes.
And I'm like, damn, that's the best body guy on the Wake Forest campus. He's tossing chicks on the sideline.
Right.
So I inquire around, and somebody there, goes to the school, and they were like, oh, he was a really top flight football player, blew the knee out. Career was over, wasn't going to play football anymore. So to keep the rah-rah spirit, he joined the cheerleading squad, and he's the guy that tosses girls 27 feet in the air and catches them. That's what he does.
Okay.
What was striking is the guy that looked like he most belonged on the field was an injured guy that was now a cheerleader. I make that point to say, back at that time, that was kind of my memory of male cheerleaders. It was bodybuilder types for whatever reason, but their key role was to toss the girls around and catch them.
Yes, I remember that.
It wasn't to sashay around kind of thing, okay?
No.
All right.
That's what we're seeing now, the sashaying around. And it's weird. It makes you wonder. But again, we see the NFL going to it's almost like they're preaching to people now. They're social justice warriors. They're putting all kinds of mottos or sayings or whatever on the back of people's helmets and in the end zone and stuff like that. And it's almost like they're forgetting why people watch the game. People watch sports as an escape. What they don't want is to be preached to during their escape. Because this is the whole point of escaping. And you start putting these political slogans or whatever into the games, and it's like, I don't know if I want to watch any longer. Yeah, maybe this will be the resurgence of listening to football on the radio, because they don't want to see this on TV. It's who knows what happened. I just know there's a lot of people that don't like it. They really don't, because they see it as going overboard. And why is the real question. Why did you have to do this?
All right, so let's get back to what I was kind of saying. Like, I go to this game and I see this large guy. And again, somebody said he was a really gifted football player, hurts his knee, can't play anymore. So now, hey, he's at the college, and I guess he feels like he wants to, increase the team spirit or whatever. Seemed like a pretty good move. But he was strikingly a large, strong-looking guy that you're like, how the hell is he on the sideline as a cheerleader? But something's changed, though. Something has changed over time. But the college, I went to Gardner-Webb. We had a football team. There were male cheerleaders. And again, they were pretty much a part of tossing girls. I mean, that was really the thing. They tossed girls around. There was no sense that they had any key role other than the fact, being male, they were able to take the stresses of throwing a 125-pound girl in the air, twirling her around and catching her. The girls couldn't do that with each other. And who cared? I mean, it was kind of like, okay, we're watching the game. All right, you put in a little comment there, cheerleaders. I'm sorry. Tell me what that meant.
Well, as I'm thinking as to college versus professional. There's cheerleaders that are in college that are there because they got a scholarship. Why is the NFL doing it?
Well, I think
that's the difference.
I think you answered it because, I was just actually reading the other day when you looked at the end zones a few years ago after George Floyd, actually not with Kaepernick, but the Kaepernick thing leads to, the COVID times, and then, nobody in the stands, and now we're into social justice summer of 2020. So in that fall, remember the slogans, if I remember them, or let's go over them. It was end racism. It starts with us or something was like one of them. But I heard they were given a slate. The NFL gave them a slate, but you had to put one of these slogans in the end zone. And now I believe this year they're pulling it. You're giving me that look again. I don't know what's that look about.
Well, I don't know.
You started to see there was a slogan in every end zone.
Right, but now they have each player has a choice of 6 slogans that they can put on the back of their helmets.
Well, they went through that too.
No, they're doing it again. This is something I just saw a couple of days ago. So yeah, they're doing it again. Why do we have to do this? This is what a lot of us don't understand. Can we just watch the game? Do we have to be preached to? And that's what it seems like we're being preached to. We don't want it.
Yeah, this is way off subject, but really kind of on subject. I was actually watching a video yesterday, and I don't know. Somebody was given it's with all the things that have come out about Joy Reid saying that Whitey made Elvis the king, and his hound dog was written for a black female, and it wasn't. Whatever. They're getting into that whole thing, but they showed a clip. And Elvis did in the early 60s serve, in the United States Army. When I think he pulled like a couple of years, and he was in Germany. It's where he found Priscilla's, I think, because she was the daughter of an officer, I believe, Priscilla Presley. Okay. Anyway.
I'll take your word for it.
Yeah, but I mean, he did service, and then, he did, I think he did an album, GI Blues or something, but every little swooning female in America had a picture of Elvis in his Army uniform, and he clearly served, and he was overseas. And it was that time, and he gets out. So I think it's 1968-ish. And he's sort of at a press conference before a concert. And someone says, Elvis, you served in the military. How do you feel about these kids protesting in the streets? And he goes, I'm not going to address that. I'm not going to address that. And the reporter sort of pushes him, and he says, look, I'm an entertainer. I'm here to entertain people. It was an interesting delivery. He was kind of like, hey, look, whatever my personal feelings are, but you served. And what do you think about this? Well, what do you think about other celebrities that might have statements to make about our involvement in Vietnam, whatever? He goes, that's up to them. But hey, knock yourself out. Feel how you like, whatever.
Sorry.
And I think it was a very sincere position he was taking. And, we beat the hell out of the whole thing with like Johnny Carson. And now that, this Mike Wallace interview surfaces, and Wallace is like, why aren't you more political on the Tonight Show? And he goes, because I'll lose half the audience. It's stupid as hell. I take shots at all politics. Okay, I say all that to say, maybe we've moved way past this. It's just not possible anymore. But I don't understand. I mean, and the thing that happened earlier this season, Clayton Kershaw becomes a target because they want to do a gay pride, whatever, with the Los Angeles Dodgers back in June. It's the month of gay pride. And they want to do rainbow caps or whatever. And I think he puts a biblical verse on his cap, and all hell breaks loose. And the part that bothers me is someone that's worked with professional athletes and worked with professional baseball players. Kershaw has to do this is my memory of his statement. He has to kind of do I'm not out against homosexuals. I just want to play baseball. I just want to play baseball. And this is not a First Amendment violation. Well, actually, it probably could, because even in a workplace environment, regardless of its government, you're doing compelled speech, basically. You're telling an athlete you have to wear something. And it may be it is possible, even in the year 2025, for someone to have a philosophical and or theological or whatever opposition to the lifestyle of another. Just saying, you might say, live and let live. I don't care. But when you put a person and say, you must display this, you must wear this, you must be behind this message, it's just unfair in the workplace. Just as if they came in and say, okay, today is Dodger Christian Day. Everyone has to wear a cross and everyone has to pray to Jesus or something. Do you think that would be acceptable? I
Of
wouldn't.
course not.
I wouldn't. I don't
No,
want. Yeah, go ahead.
it wouldn't be acceptable.
No.
It definitely wouldn't be acceptable. But here's the thing.
Yeah.
You don't have to be there. If your employer says X, if you don't like what X is, you find another employer.
So you think that Clayton Kershaw should retire from Major League Baseball because they want him to wear gay paraphernalia on the baseball field? He should just retire.
What I think is everyone who feels the same way should not let him hang out by himself. Because I guarantee he's not the only one, but they don't have.
But he doesn't. My point is, brother, he doesn't need this. He's a guy that can throw 90 plus with the great curveball. He belongs in Major League Baseball. Given his numbers, he belongs in professional baseball. Once he takes, Jackie Robinson didn't go under this. Babe Ruth didn't go under this. Yeah, go ahead.
I hear what you're saying. We all have employers.
Yeah, but we're asking the bigger question. Why in the hell is this happening? Why are the Dodgers doing this? Why is the NFL running male cheerleaders out there? This is where we open with. Why are they doing this?
And I agree with you, but you know what would stop it? The same people that could stop men from playing in women's sports. The women.
Well, there has been some of that. There have been events where females have shown up and found that. I don't know. It was like 6 months ago to a year ago. Remember, there was like some type of athletic event, I believe track and field, and there was going to be a male competing, a biological male, and the girls walked out. Once they did, go ahead.
It happens so infrequently.
Sure.
I would love to see the NFL players hooked up to a lie detector and ask them, do you like these sassy dudes on the field as cheerleaders? And see how many of those guys would say yes. If you want it stopped, if these guys who have an employer don't like it, say something about it, that you don't like it or not. You don't have to be there.
I honestly think, like, especially coming off of summer camp and it's the end of August, I can tell you a vast majority of an NFL roster does not care. They want to get a job. They just want to play. They're not looking over on the sidelines to see who's cheerleading. Believe me, they don't give a shit. They don't care.
Okay. Well, I mean, that's fine. More power to them. But those of us who are on the outside looking in, NFL looks kind of weak.
Yeah, and as a consumer, you can make that choice. If your line, and this is the thing, as free market types as we are, if your line says, I'm not going to go to a game where a guy swishing around on the sideline looks a particular way, whatever, or I think the league is trying to push a particular message on me, I don't like it, then don't show up. Somebody else might buy the ticket, now, it did show in the Kaepernick situation in 2019. Remember, there were viral videos all over the internet of people blowing up their memorabilia. There were NFL fans that had grown up with NFL teams that they'd loved since childhood, and they're throwing away their memorabilia, and they're like, screw it, I'll never go, because some team went out and did a particular kneel during the national anthem, and the NFL lost revenue. I mean, they did take a hit at the time.
I don't wear Nikes because of Colin Kaepernick. Well, I shouldn't say because of him, because Nike folded to him when they had the Betsy Ross flag on the back of their shoes, and Colin Kaepernick started saying, "Oh, but this is racist," and blah blah blah, and Nike folded. Well, I just won't buy any Nikes, and I haven't since then. I won't wear anything that has Nike on it, all because you guys folded to some BS. Okay, well,
and we're having two kinds. I mean, again, the way my mind works is there's a couple of arguments going on. How do you respond to when you think a league, an organization, some aspect of American life is acting in a way that you find, offensive or objectionable? How do you react? Okay, I boycott, I stop purchasing. Okay, those are your choices. But again, we're still in this question, though, of what you got to think that the NFL at some level, in some boardroom, somewhere, is thinking that this, I guess you would think that this is strategically a good move.
Yeah, I'm being honest, but I don't know.
Right.
The only thing I can come up with is, and I'll end on this one. The only thing I can come up with is the NFL is trying to attract a certain segment of people. That's what they're doing. But it's a give and take here. Do you try to attract a certain segment by running off another segment? So what is that, a zero-sum game?
Right.
That's what you did. And okay, again, the last thing. I remember listening to a podcast years ago, Adam Carolla, Joe Coy, Dr. Drew, and if you probably know this guy better than me. Do you remember several years ago, maybe about 10 or so years ago, the NFL football player who was he was fined for wearing green shoes instead of the pink shoes that the NFL wanted him to wear, or everybody to wear for breast cancer month?
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
No, but I mean, I know they've been doing the pink stuff
Hold on. I suggest everybody go in and finding that podcast for the fact that the reason that the guy wore the green shoes is because he said that he suffered from mental illness and he had other family members suffer from mental illness. Way more people suffer from mental illness than they do from breast cancer. It's not even close. But the NFL wanted to appear that they were woman friendly. That's why they did it, because they wanted women to watch the games. They didn't care about breast cancer. They didn't give a damn about breast cancer. All they wanted was more eyes. Dude, it's pretty clear. And again, I do not like the NFL because I think they're fake. I think they're phony. And just like with this cheerleading thing, they're only doing it for a political statement. Man, screw the NFL. Honestly, I couldn't care less about them. And I know I'm going to catch hell for this one. I know I am. And you and I are going to be in the opposite ends of the spectrum when it comes to this. I wish the NFL would disappear. I really do.
Well, okay. All right. I have said this before, and I'm going to say it again. This is my old man get off my lawn thing, but this is my mantra. All right. Okay. I think in comparison to a different era, football today is trash. Okay, because I am of the belief that the NFL peaked in the 80s and 90s. I've said this a million times. The Lawrence Taylors, Reggie Whites, the Jerry Rices, the Montanas, the Marinos, the Elways. And again, when you talk to young people, they're like, well, coach, they were tiny and slow. And really? You think Bo Jackson was slow? Go back and watch the film, dumbass. I mean, he's 6'1", 225, and he's running a sub 4 240. I don't give a shit what anybody says. He's a better athlete. He's a two-sport athlete. He could have been Hall of Famer in baseball and football. He had the injury, blah, blah, blah. Deion's playing two sports. Brian Jordan's playing two sports. Brian Jordan's an all-pro in pro football. He's an all-star in baseball. I'm sorry, brother. It was a different time. These weren't tiny, slow men playing. So now you can't hit anybody. It's everything has been it's slanted towards pass-happy offenses. Nobody can get hit. If you hit a guy, it's you led with your head, you missiled him, whatever, and flags all over the place. So everybody has to pull up. I'm not saying that I don't believe there's some gifted athletes playing today, and I'll tell you this too. For some reason, I'm on YouTube 6 months to a year ago, and I pull a 1986 Celtics-Lakers game. Celtics-Lakers. And I'm like, Burr, Johnson, McHale, you're going to Cooper and Jabbar. And I'm watching it, and I'm like, damn, those guys could play. And again, you talk to most kids, well, wasn't Larry Bird like 5'11"? No, dumbass, he was 6'9". He was?
Right.
What about Magic? Wasn't he a tiny point? No, he was a 6'9" point guard. That was kind of unheard of at the time. So they're playing above the rim. They're playing at the level they're playing. I don't know. It just looks better to me. The way the game is being played, just to the eye, it looks like better players to me. And everybody, the athletes are so much greater today. Really? I don't think they are. Now, I say all that to say we're in a cascading, diminishing testosterone today, right? I mean, isn't it like down 40% in 40 years? Where are athletes coming from? If we're less male than we've ever been, and that's what's producing the athletes, I just don't know. Do I think there's outliers? Do I think there's great athletes? But I say all that to say I watch the NFL. It seems too orchestrated, or it seems too scripted, and I think it's turning people off. And
Yes.
once you go another level and your play seems to be diminished, or the game seems to be too much like flag football. And there's another
Right.
thing. Look at the Pro Bowl now. The Pro Bowl has become just that. It's flag football because we can't hit anybody
Right.
anymore because they're making $100 million a year, and we don't want to get anybody injured because they're all superstars. And everybody's a walking billboard. They're throwing stuff. Baseball's the same thing. There's billboards. It's all about money. It's all about
Right.
this appearance stuff. Everybody's a showboat. They intercept the pass. Everybody runs to the end zone, and everybody poses. It's bullshit. It's awful. And you know, I look at the Jim Browns, and I look at the Butkuses and the Gale Sayers, and I look at the players in a bygone era. They were men. They played like men. They looked like men playing. They acted like men, and it was a different time frame. I'm talking 60s then, but as you go through the time frames or the different eras, I just think it was best 80s and 90s, and then I think it started a downhill slide. And a large part of it is I just think they softened the game. Now, again, I'm not the one suffering concussions and might not be able to walk in 10 years. And I know that, but I know that a lot of what they're saying is they're doing it for brain safety. Let's make the game safer. I get all that. But the bottom line of everything we're talking about is the sideline stuff where we got to get into political discussions over pro football is tiresome.
Yes.
And yeah, that's kind of the whole thing.
I agree.
All right, Charles, your last views on this. Oh, I did want to real quick. I did want to say this. I did look up the reasons for the cancellation of playmakers. Pressure from the NFL. This is what they said. Negative portrayal. The show depicted unflattering aspects of professional football, including drug use, violence, and personal struggles of the players. That's what I remember coming out was the NFL's like, oopsie, you might be too closely depicting what NFL players actually go through. And we don't like that because we want, right. NFL discontent. The NFL expressed dissatisfaction with the show's content, leading to tensions between the league and ESPN. And it was highly acclaimed, and I think it was a great series.
Yes, fantastic.
ESPN's decision, business considerations, ESPN's executives stated that they did not want to antagonize their part in the NFL despite the show's popularity. Plus, they're trying to broadcast the games in that era. So, I mean, you know, it wasn't good for the bottom line business, but I think it was a great show.
Yeah,
all right, your final comments on all of this.
It would be nice if sports could keep politics out of it, but the fact that that's why the vast majority of people are into sports, because it's not politics. Most people don't like to see both mixed together all the time, and sports is an escape. Let people escape without having to drag all the other stuff into it.
All right, I got to respond with this. I hear that a lot, that people want to escape. I think it's something even more than that. I really do. I think it's just simply that people want to see sports as sports. For whatever reason you love sports or you've been into sports or whatever, it's just sports. It's not politics.
Okay.
All right, last thoughts.
Like, comment, and subscribe. That's all. That's all.
Yeah, like what we do. Subscribe to what we do, and please make comments. Tell us we're wrong. Tell us you want to see whatever you want to see on the sidelines when it comes to cheerleaders. Knock yourself out. Tell us what you think. Thanks very much, Charles. Thank you.
Thanks. All right, bro.
Thanks for tuning in. If you like the show, subscribe and hit your notification button to get an update when we post another episode. See you soon.